Ethan Carter wasn't just a millionaire, he was a man who built his empire from nothing. Yet despite his wealth, his mansion often felt empty. The only constant presence was Maria, his maid, a quiet woman in her 40s who worked tirelessly, never complaining, never asking for more. One rainy afternoon, Ethan noticed Maria struggling with a torn handbag and worn-out shoes. She brushed it off when he offered help, but something in her tired smile struck him deeply. That evening, in an uncharacteristic impulse, Ethan handed her his sleek black credit card. "Maria," he said, pressing it into her hand, "go buy yourself whatever you need. No limits. You deserve it." Her eyes widened. "Sir, I can't, this is too much." But Ethan insisted, smiling for the first time in weeks. "Please. Think of it as a gift of trust." The next day, Maria left early, card clutched nervously in her hand. Ethan expected her to return with designer clothes, luxury handbags, or maybe even jewelry. After all, who wouldn't, with unlimited access to a millionaire's card? But when she walked back through the mansion's door that evening, her arms were filled, not with shopping bags of her own, but with boxes of food, school supplies, and blankets. Ethan froze, confused. "Maria, what is all this?" Her voice trembled, yet her eyes shone with quiet pride. "It's for the families at the shelter, sir. They need it more than I ever will." For the first time in years, Ethan felt his heart break and heal at the same time. Ethan stared at the pile of supplies on his polished marble floor. Canned food, winter jackets, notebooks, crayons, even children's shoes. None of it was for Maria. He cleared his throat. "Maria, you could have bought yourself anything. Why this?" She hesitated, folding her hands nervously. "Because, sir. I know what it feels like to have nothing." Her words carried a weight that silenced the room. Ethan gestured for her to continue. Maria told him about her childhood in a poor neighborhood. Her parents had struggled to put food on the table, and winters were cruel. There were nights she went to bed hungry, holding her younger brother close to keep him warm. Now, every weekend, she visited a shelter in the city where families just like hers were trying to survive. "I thought," she whispered, "if you trusted me with something so valuable, maybe I could turn it into hope for them." Ethan felt a lump rise in his throat. He had always believed money bought happiness, yet in Maria's calloused hands, it became something purer, compassion. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. For the first time in years, he questioned his own life. His wealth had built walls, not bridges. Maria, with almost nothing, had managed to build both. As dawn broke, Ethan made a decision: he would go with her to the shelter. He needed to see the world through her eyes. The following Saturday, Ethan's sleek black car pulled up outside a crumbling brick building. Children played in the yard with patched-up balls, their laughter echoing against the cold city walls. Ethan had expected sadness, but what he saw was resilience. Maria greeted the staff warmly, her arms full of supplies. She introduced Ethan quietly, almost shyly, as a friend. The moment he stepped inside, heads turned. The billionaire in a tailored suit looked out of place among the peeling paint and worn furniture. Yet as he watched children's faces light up over crayons and warm meals, something inside him shifted. A little girl tugged at his sleeve. "Mister, are you Maria's boss?" "Yes," Ethan answered softly. "She's like an angel," the girl whispered. "She brings us things we need. She makes us feel like we matter." The words hit Ethan harder than any business negotiation ever had. As the day went on, Ethan helped unpack boxes, serve food, and even read a story to a group of children huddled around him. Their joy was raw and contagious. For the first time in years, he felt truly alive. That evening, on the ride home, Ethan turned to Maria. "Why didn't you ever tell me about this place?" Maria looked down at her hands. "Because, sir, it wasn't about me. It was about them. Ethan realized then that Maria wasn't just his maid. She was his teacher. And he still had much to learn. Days passed, but Ethan couldn't shake the images from the shelter. The laughter, the gratitude, the way Maria had transformed a simple act into a lifeline. One morning, Ethan called Maria into his study. On the desk lay a folder filled with papers. "I've been thinking," he began. "Those families deserve more than temporary help. They deserve a future." Maria frowned gently. "Sir, you've already done so much." But Ethan cut her off. "No, Maria. You've done so much. You showed me what real wealth looks like." He slid the folder toward her. Inside were documents for a new foundation, funded entirely by Ethan's fortune. Its mission, to provide housing, education, and healthcare for struggling families in the city. Maria's eyes filled with tears. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," Ethan replied, his voice firm but tender. "But I can't do this alone. I want you to run it, with me." Her hands trembled as she touched the papers. "Sir, I'm just a maid. I don't know how to run anything." Ethan smiled. "Maria, you've been running this with your heart all along. Now, let's do it together." For the first time in years, Maria allowed herself to dream bigger. And for Ethan, the idea of using his wealth for something greater than himself filled the emptiness he had carried for so long. Months later, the once-forgotten shelter had transformed. Fresh paint covered the walls, new classrooms buzzed with laughter, and families moved into small but safe apartments built with the foundation's help. On opening day, Maria stood at the podium, her voice shaking with emotion as she thanked the community. Ethan sat proudly in the front row, watching the woman who had once dusted his hallways now inspire an entire city. When it was his turn to speak, Ethan's voice carried a rare vulnerability. "I thought being a millionaire meant having everything. But Maria showed me the truth. Wealth means nothing if it isn't shared. She gave me back my heart." The crowd erupted in applause. Children ran to hug Maria, while parents whispered blessings through grateful tears. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, Ethan and Maria stood side by side, watching families settle into their new homes. "Maria," Ethan said quietly, "the day you took my credit card, I thought you'd spend it on yourself. Instead, you gave me something I never knew I needed." Maria smiled, tears glistening. "What's that, sir?" "Purpose," Ethan replied. And with that, two unlikely partners, a billionaire and a maid, began a new journey. Not one built on money alone, but on kindness, humanity, and hope. The millionaire had given away his wealth. But in return, he had gained something priceless.